It's 8 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Sally Burdett. Live from Johannesburg. Your top stories tonight.
Amazing sea and not one inside. Heaven on earth. You cannot beat this. You cannot beat this.
Anger and shame over that racist video. The EFF lays criminal charges against Adam Katsavelos.
I paid because I wanted a job, and they will tell you that you will not be made permanent if you don't do it.
Teachers at a Johannesburg school admit they paid for their permanent posts. An exclusive report on eNews tonight. And the land reform debate dominates the president's question and answer session in the National Assembly. Adam Katsavelos, yesterday an ordinary South African, today a symbol of what is still so very wrong in our country. Katsavelos has sparked public outrage after posting a video of himself on a beach in Greece. Now in it he expresses his joy at not seeing a single black person, and he uses the K word.
Let me give you a weather forecast here. Blue skies, beautiful day, amazing sea, and not one inside. Heaven on earth. You cannot beat this. You cannot beat this.
Of course, that video has since gone viral, and today there were serious consequences for his racism. Katsavelos has been dismissed from his family's business, St. George's Fine Foods. In a statement, the family says they are appalled by the video and have distanced themselves from his comments. The Baron Group of restaurants has also terminated its contract with the company. Several local Nike outlets were closed today following the public cry over his remarks. Katsavelos is believed to be married to a woman who's a merchandising director at Nike. At the same time, Radio 702 and Nedbank have strongly condemned Katsavelos. The businessman was one of the entrepreneurs profiled on Radio 702's Nedbank Business Accelerator program in 2014. And the economic freedom fighters have opened a criminal case against Katsavelos.
We are hoping and praying that white people get the message that any other injustice beyond the land and economic inequalities that we have to endure as Africans, we are not going to tolerate name calling. We are not going to stand by and allow any white person feeling the privilege they've endured over 376 years at our expense. We are not going to be tolerant of being called the K word or any other name. We're not going to tolerate and stand by while white people humiliate our people on a daily basis.
Swift action and more to come. The South African Human Rights Commission says even though the racist statement was made in Greece, they still have a mandate to pursue the matter. And now we move to an exclusive eNews report this evening. The Gauteng Education Department is investigating the principal of a Johannesburg school. She's being accused of taking money for jobs. 3 teachers who've asked for their identities to be protected spoke exclusively to our reporter Zikona Chona.
After years of experiencing what they describe as horrific ordeal under their principal, these teachers have decided to speak out.
When you are a new teacher at the school, you have to pay a certain amount in money or in any other form. They call it a thank you fee.
There is no one who has not paid the thank you fee at school. I was stubborn and didn't pay it. I am not treated well at school.
Once your interview is successful, you start work and you are temporary for a year. If you don't do according to the principal's wishes, you will not be permanent and you lose your job.
The teacher who's refused to bow to pressure, her life has been incredibly difficult.
I like developing children. This has pained me to a point where I've thought of taking my own life and committing suicide.
It doesn't end there.
We were writing the annual national assessment. It was revealed that the foundation of the children was not up to standard. The principal told teachers that for the reputation of the school, the children must be given the answers.
Parents have also accused the school of breaking the law when it comes to discipline.
It is a norm for children to be beaten at the school.
We took the allegations made by the teachers to Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi, his vow to act immediately.
We're complaining that the profession is not recruiting good people and the profession is not attractive to people who can contribute constructively to this profession. And to have people that have to go through these unnecessary hurdles and be requested to make payments and things to principals is indeed disgusting. But we have no choice. We have the team here. We'll take this evidence and we will act.
The teachers are afraid and say they hope now that the department's planning on intervening, they'll be protected and continue with their life's mission, educating children. Zikhona Shona, Johannesburg.
To Parliament now, and this afternoon, President Cyril Ramaphosa answered questions in the National Assembly. He spoke on a number of issues. Government's committed to finding ways to reduce fuel costs. The President says a plan to stimulate the economy and grow jobs will be announced within the next few days. And on land, he once again assured South Africans, and perhaps the global markets too, that there was nothing to fear in the country's land reform plans. Now here's an interchange between the President and EFF leader Julius Malema, who asked him about expropriating land close to urban areas.
Our people are now subjected to concentration camps, which we call townships, and mislead ourselves that those things are residential areas. When they were planned, those things, they were not planned as residential areas, they were planned as concentration camps.
We want to start off with land that is owned by our various entities. Local government owns large tracts of land in the urban areas, and we believe that and want that land to be released so that it be given to our people, and it must be released at service stands. Our people must be given that land, and indeed it is releasing the land, Honorable Malema. Releasing the land means that that land, as it is owned by our local entities, does not even need to be bought. And if you like, yes, it is a form of expropriation that will end up in the hands of our people.
Now, still with land, and after the public hearings that took place around the country recently, MPs have to now analyse the results. Did participants favour land expropriation without compensation or not? Well, the bulk of submissions analysed so far, it seems, are against amending the Constitution. But less than half of the written submissions have been captured. There are about 300,000 more to go before a final report on the submissions can be put together. MPs now want to go back and review the oral submissions from 33 public hearings. Stay with us on eNews. We'll be going live to Washington, where an increasingly embattled Donald Trump lashes his former lawyer, who has directly implicated him in paying hush money. And of course, we're also going to look at the markets with Mateo.
More on Donald Trump as well. His loudmouth finally working out for the local market. More on that story after the break.
And let's talk money now with Mateo. And Mateo, inflation.
Yeah, not such a great number. The market expecting it to be around 5% in terms of going up, but it's gone from 4.6% in June to about 5.1% in July. And that was mostly due to that petrol price that we saw at 16 Rand a litre at one point. And now it's really showing the knock-on effects on the economy, where you're seeing the prices of products also going up in July as well. And you're seeing that those utility rates also, heavy on the pocket of consumers. And it's a huge concern because CPI is one of the things that the Reserve Bank looks at when they're deciding whether to hike interest rates or not. And there's been a big discussion among analysts today whether that is going to happen. And one analyst believes that the Reserve Bank will not hike interest rates just yet because the CPI is still within the target band.
From our perspective, the central bank is possibly not going to increase interest rates. And this is on the back of the fact that we don't anticipate inflation breaching the target band. So while there are a lot of risks, the key risks are oil and the rand. But if those keep within a certain band, within a certain spectrum, we don't anticipate that that will blow out. And inflation will tick up slightly, but we don't see it going over the 6% mark.
Well, a little glimmer of hope. Let's look at the markets now. And Donald Trump has had a positive influence.
Definitely. He made a few comments about the Federal Reserve in the United States earlier this week, and that's hit the local market in the US, and a lot of people running back to emerging markets like South Africa. And that's why you see the all share up today. There were a few corporate results that came out that were really bad for the market, but because a lot of people were trading today, we're seeing the all share up. Industrials also in positive territory with Naspers pulling up the weight there, and financials also up with that stronger rand. And in terms of mining shares, they were down today. Goldfields had poor results, and Platinum up on news that the mining bill will be scrapped, and they'll still keep the old one. Of course, that was going to affect exports in that sector. Resources also up by 1.5%. And in terms of currencies, that speak that we saw from President Donald Trump really strengthening the rand, because he's put a lot of pressure on the Fed to lower interest rates in that country. When interest rates are high in the US, we see a lower rand. It's at 14 Rand 18 now against the greenback, at 16.43 against the euro, and at 18 Rand 30 cents, also firm against the pound. And in commodity prices, the price of gold marginal today at $1,196 an ounce, and platinum also in that marginal territory, with Brent crude ticking up higher at $74.75 a barrel.
Thank you very much, Moteo Kharipa. And we're actually going to be going live to Washington in just a few moments to find out what's up with Donald Trump. Thank you very much for that markets update. But first to Zimbabwe. Emmerson Mnangagwa will know on Friday whether he will retain his title as president. The Constitutional Court in that country reserved judgment in a petition brought by the opposition, which wants a rerun of the elections. Aldrin Simpier reports the Electoral Commission conceded that there were faults in their calculations of the final results.
As court proceedings got underway, South African advocates Dalim Mpofu and Tembeka Ngcukaitobi had to sit in the public gallery. The Justice Ministry denied them working permits on the basis that their applications were received late. It says it was only received 2 days before the hearing. The pair could just look on as the MDC Alliance Council argued why the elections must be set aside. On August the 3rd, the Electoral Commission announced that Emmerson Mnangagwa had won the presidential race by 50.8%. But upon the MDC's court challenge, that figure was revised down to 50.6%. The Electoral Commission says these are minor clerical errors which are immaterial and do not alter the declaration. The Zimbabwean constitution demands that the winner attain 50% plus one of the votes. The MDC Alliance says because the ZEC disowned the initial results, the results are inherently irregular. Aldrin Simpier, Johannesburg.
And now let's go to the United States, where President Donald Trump has lashed out at his former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Now, yesterday, Cohen pleaded guilty in a federal court to 8 criminal counts. Cohen admitted to paying hush money on Trump's instruction over his alleged extramarital affairs. Also yesterday, Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was convicted on 8 counts of bank and tax fraud. How long can this go on? Or is it simply, as Trump says, a big witch hunt? Let's get the very latest in this ongoing saga from our US correspondent, Simon Marks in Washington. Evening, Simon. Could Cohen bring the president down?
Well, he could certainly contribute to a process that might ultimately lead to Donald Trump leaving the White House, but we're still a long way away from that. However, there is no question, Sally, that the events of the former campaign manager was being tried on fraud charges that had nothing to do with the 2016 election. So the president can legitimately say, look, those charges don't touch me. However, Michael Cohen, his former lawyer and Mr. Fix-It up in New York for many, many years, pleading guilty to campaign finance violations and directly implicating Donald Trump in those crimes, saying, I was making these hush money payments to 2 women, including the adult film star Stormy Daniels, who received more than $130,000 just days before the election in a successful bid, to persuade her not to tell her story on television here. Michael Cohen says that Donald Trump told him what to do, and we now know Donald Trump reimbursed him the money that was spent doing it. That's an enormous problem for the President of the United States.
Thank you so much, Simon Marks, coming to us live from Washington. Well, let's recap our top stories this evening.
One inside. Heaven on earth. You cannot beat this. You cannot beat this.
Anger and shame over that racist video. The EFF lays criminal charges against Adam Katsavelos.
I paid because I wanted a job, and they will tell you that you will not be made permanent if you don't do it.
Teachers at a Johannesburg school admit they paid for their permanent posts. An exclusive report in eNews exposes this corruption. And the land reform debate dominates the President's question and answer session in the National Assembly. Finally, you may know that in Germany, the swastika, the symbol of Nazi oppression and so much suffering, is banned. But now, for the first time since the end of World War II, Germany is allowing people to display the swastika. Lawmakers have made an exception for a video game.
Through the darkest of times, this is a new strategy game that lets you play as a resistance group in the Third Reich. It covers the period from Hitler's seizure of power in 1933 to Germany's unconditional surrender in 1945. Actual historical events influence what happens to your group. One thing some might find disturbing, though, the game features one of the biggest symbols of crimes against humanity, the swastika. The display of Nazi symbols is unconstitutional in Germany, but an exception was made for the video game.
And that's your news. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.